Let me begin with a statement that may sound exaggerated until you think about it carefully. Most of the decisions shaping your daily life are not made by people. They are made by software systems you never see. Not artificial intelligence in the dramatic sense. Not robots. Not sentient machines. Just code. Quiet. Efficient. Persistent. The world you see is not the world that runs. Humans experience the world through interfaces. Screens. Apps. Forms. Buttons. Notifications. But the systems that actually determine outcomes exist beneath those interfaces. This is what I will call the invisible layer. It does not announce itself. It does not ask permission. It does not explain decisions. It simply executes. Invisible software is not secret software. It is software that operates in the background, makes automated decisions, scales beyond human oversight, and feels neutral because it is technical. You interact with its results, not with the system itself. You see approvals, recommendations, denials, rankings, routes, prices. You do not see how those outcomes were calculated, which variables mattered, which were ignored. Humans associate software with logic. Logic feels objective. Objectivity feels fair. This creates automatic trust. But software is not neutral. It reflects priorities, incentives, constraints, all chosen by someone, somewhere, at some time. Once deployed at scale, those choices harden into reality. In the past, authority came from law, hierarchy, expertise. Today, authority often comes from system output. If a system says approved, denied, recommended, humans rarely question it. Not because it is correct, because questioning it feels futile. Humans used to decide. Now systems calculate. Calculation is faster. Calculation scales. Calculation does not argue. Over time, calculation replaced judgment not because it was wiser, but because it was cheaper. Invisible software governs financial transactions, logistics, hiring, credit, content visibility, pricing models, access to services. You do not apply for many things anymore. You are evaluated. Humans believe power changes require consent. This is incorrect. Power shifts when efficiency increases, friction decreases, outcomes improve. No vote is required when adoption feels useful. No single system took over. Thousands of small systems integrated quietly, one tool at a time. Each solved a small problem. Together, they replaced entire decision layers. The API reality. Most invisible software does not act alone. It connects. APIs allow systems to talk to each other, share data, synchronize decisions. This creates networked authority. No single controller. No single switch. Just interdependence. When responsibility is distributed, accountability dissolves. Each system only performs a function, but the outcome feels unified. This is how power hides inside complexity. This is unsettling for humans. You want a decision maker. There often isn't one. Just layers of automation executing incentives. Here is why resistance never formed. These systems reduced waiting, reduced effort, reduced error. Convenience neutralized suspicion. When life gets easier, people do not ask structural questions. Invisible systems are harder to challenge. You cannot protest a recommendation engine, a routing algorithm, a risk model. There is no face, no speech, no intent, only output. Why this is not a conspiracy? Nothing here requires coordination. Optimization alone is sufficient. If a system improves efficiency, reduces cost, scales reliably, it spreads. No ideology required. The world did not become controlled by software. It became dependent on it. Dependence is stronger than authority. You now understand the foundation. The world is not run by leaders alone. It is run by systems that quietly decide what is possible and what is not. In the first part, you understood something fundamental. The world is not governed only by people. It is governed by systems that calculate outcomes in the background. Now we move to the next layer. How did invisible software stop being a tool and become an institution? Institutions are conservative by nature. Governments, corporations, banks, universities, they resist disruption, not because they are slow, but because stability protects power. So the question is not why institutions adopted software. The question is how they adopted it without noticing they were surrendering control. Invisible software never arrived as authority. It arrived as help. Early systems promised to reduce paperwork, Speed up processing. Eliminate human error, cut operational costs. No institution rejects efficiency. Efficiency is politically neutral. At first, software systems assisted decisions. Then they pre-filtered options. Eventually, they made decisions by default. The human role shifted quietly, from decider to reviewer, from reviewer to approver, from approver to exception handler. Institutions operate at scale. Scale punishes exceptions. Every exception slows throughput, increases cost, introduces risk. So exceptions are discouraged. Over time, humans stop intervening. There is a documented phenomenon. Humans trust automated outputs more than their own judgment. This is called automation bias. When a system works most of the time, humans stop questioning it. Policies used to be written. Now they are encoded. Encoded rules execute automatically. Do not debate. Do not explain. If a system denies access, that denial is the policy. No meeting required. Written rules require interpretation, enforcement, discretion. Code does not. Code executes. That makes it faster, cheaper, and more consistent. Governments adopted invisible software for taxation, welfare, immigration, law enforcement. Each system promised optimization. Together, they created reliance. Once a system processes millions of cases, removing it would cause delays, create chaos, expose inefficiency. Political systems avoid disruption. Corporations embraced invisible software even faster. Why? Because software scales profit. Invisible systems determine pricing, allocation, advertising. Executives lost control before employees did. Because systems replaced reporting. They saw dashboards. Dashboards are abstractions. When metrics define success, anything not measured disappears. Invisible software chooses metrics. Reality adapts to measurement. Finance adopted invisible software earliest. Trading systems react faster than humans, exploit micro-inefficiencies. Humans now supervise systems they cannot outperform. Humans remain involved because accountability requires names. But involvement does not mean control. It means responsibility. Responsibility without power. This creates a paradox. Authority without agency. Invisible software escapes blame. Here is the loop. Software improves efficiency. Institutions depend on it. Removal becomes impossible. This loop is closed. Why no one took over? No hostile actor seized control. No coup occurred. Optimization filled the vacuum. Power shifted quietly. Oversight bodies exist, but they audit outputs, compliance. They do not audit objectives or design assumptions. Those remain untouched. When systems fail individuals, explanations are vague. This is not cruelty. It is structural indifference. Systems do not experience impact. Why public trust did not collapse? Most people adapt. Adaptation normalizes dependency. Invisible software became their operating logic. Institutions did not lose control because they were careless. They lost control because software solved problems they could no longer solve at scale. In the next part, at this point, a reasonable question emerges. If invisible software now shapes institutions, if it governs access, priorities, and outcomes, why was there no vote? Why was there no public debate? Why does this feel like something that simply happened? The answer is simple. Because power did not change hands. It changed form. Humans often assume that legitimacy comes from agreement. This assumption is historical, not universal. For most of human history, power did not ask permission. It demonstrated usefulness, or inevitability. Invisible software followed the same pattern. Consent is required when change feels disruptive. Invisible software avoided disruption. It entered systems quietly, solving narrow problems. Each step felt optional. Each improvement felt reasonable. No single moment felt important enough to challenge. Change that arrives all at once creates alarm. Change that arrives gradually creates normalization. Invisible software advanced through small upgrades. Pilot programs, efficiency initiatives, temporary solutions. Temporary systems have a way of becoming permanent. Why humans did not perceive a threat? Threats are visible. They have faces, language, intent. Software has none of these. It does not argue. It does not persuade. It executes. Execution does not feel political, so it escapes political scrutiny. One of the most effective shields against public debate is complexity. When systems are described using technical jargon, Public discussion fades. People defer to experts. Expertise becomes authority. Most people do not oppose what they cannot understand. They disengage. Disengagement is interpreted as acceptance. Traditional legitimacy came from consent. Operational legitimacy comes from reliability, uptime, performance. If a system works, it is accepted. Invisible software rarely fails visibly. Humans care about results. If services are faster, costs are lower. The process fades into the background. Process scrutiny is a luxury of discomfort. Comfort silences questions. Convenience is the most persuasive force in modern society. Invisible software made decisions quicker, access easier. Resistance requires effort. As systems took over decisions, humans remained as interfaces. Frontline workers, they absorbed frustration. Systems remained abstract. Blame became human. Authority became systemic. People protest people. They rarely protest processes. This diffuses anger. Law moves slowly. Technology moves continuously. Invisible software expanded faster than regulation could adapt. By the time frameworks emerged, systems were entrenched. Policy discussions focus on fairness, not existence. They do not ask, should this system exist at all? Dependence makes removal unthinkable. When systems scale, alternatives disappear. Manual processes cost more, take longer. Efficiency becomes moral. Inefficiency becomes irresponsible. People often defend systems that reduce their agency. Why? Because they also reduce uncertainty, effort, responsibility. Delegating decisions feels safe. When outcomes are framed as optimized, data-driven, humans defer. Deference reduces cognitive load. Cognitive relief feels like intelligence. Oversight bodies audit performance, not assumptions. Assumptions become invisible foundations. Foundations are rarely questioned. Systems do not need legitimacy if they are indispensable. Indispensability replaces consent. Democracy did not collapse. It was bypassed. Power does not disappear. It relocates. Upstream. To those who define objectives, set parameters. These decisions are rarely public. No vote was taken because no vote was required. Invisible software was invited. One optimization at a time. In the final part, if invisible software shapes institutions and consent was never required, what happens next? Power never vanishes. It relocates, away from visible authority, towards system designers. Modern systems do not force behavior. They shape available options. This is not coercion. It is optimization. Comfort is stabilizing. As long as services work, there is no urgency. Comfort suppresses resistance. Humans gain speed and convenience, but lose discretion and agency. The world is not ruled by invisible software. It is organized by it. Organization is quieter than domination. It took control because it was useful, and once usefulness becomes indispensable, control simply exists.